Hey, 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 what is up, everybody? Happy Tuesday. It's another Tuesday happy hour session with Eric, the Humble Malt Muser, and my good whiskey friends. I hope everybody's doing well. What's in the glass? Let's get this started. I am starting off a little Boon at 12 tonight. A little bit later in the show, we'll chat about a bottle I picked up this past weekend, Colonel E.H. Taylor Jr. Single Barrel Bourbon. Really interested. I had a sip of it a couple days ago, but would love to chat about it with you all, as this is my first bottle of E.H. Taylor that I've ever had. And got a little Wild Turkey and, of course, our friend the Glen Scotia here as well. So what's popping, y'all? Let's get into it. Oh, cool. I see the chat is up and running already. We got some folks in the room. What's good? Let me bring up YouTube so I can actually get the chat better here. Sweet. Cool. First dram down. Gets the palate ready, y'all. Gets the palate ready. All right. Let's see what's popping. We got Lost Cause in the house. What's up? Too Slow. Richie. How you guys doing tonight? What is good? Greg Whiskey Guide's in the house saying hey to Eric and Richie and everybody. Good to see you, Greg. If y'all haven't, check out his channel. If y'all want to check out some other whiskey reviews, he's doing really good stuff. Thanks for swinging by, Greg. Looks like Sergey's in the house too, saying you may be live, but I'm dead drunk on Isla Mist. All right, Sergey. Hope it's not too early around where you are. Anyways, Daniel's in the house. Mark Stengel, what's up, people? Peter White, Whiskey Straight Al, what's up, mate? How are you? What's going on, buddy? I'm about to pour the rest of this Boon at 12 in the glass. I've been sipping on this a bit lately. Hint, hint, for my whiskey review coming out Friday. May or may not be this Boon at 12. We're going to kill this bottle, though. Ooh, that's a healthy pour, man. This is going to take me a while. This is really good stuff, y'all. This was my first bottle of Boon at 12. But seems like a good enough starter, so we'll get into that. A little rare breed, and we'll talk that E.H. Taylor in a little while. Anyway, let's see what else is going on. Good stuff at Sergey. Is that an 8-year-old? I've never heard of Isla Mist, to be honest with you. What's up, Andrew Page? Mark Stengel's got something in the glass. See you there. Right on. Oh, man. Lost Cause has got a foolproof 1792 store pick. Oh, man, that's a good pour right there. Those are increasingly hard to come by. I remember when the 1792 foolproof first came on the market. In fact, that was my first whiskey review on YouTube. Wasn't a store pick. I think it was just a regular release. That's when that had just come out, and I swear that was in the, man, $50 a bottle range, $55. Man, I see that now for heavy prices. So I'd be curious what you're seeing that for these days. The last one I saw must have been upwards of, shit, this is probably like $89 or $79.99. Yeah, those are all over the place, but that is fantastic bourbon. A little bit hot, so I always added some water to it, but hope you're enjoying that, buddy. Cheers. Let's see what else is going on. Peter White. Oh, man, Blanton's Gold. You're a lucky man. The thing about Blanton's, the best Blanton's you can get, despite it being made here in the States, you can't get here. You can't get Blanton's Gold. You can't get the Blanton's straight from the barrel, which I think is one of the best bourbons I've ever had, period. And you can really only get the regular single barrel or store picks. All those like Blanton's Green, Blanton's Black Label, really can't find those in the States. They're not, I mean, at least not easily. Secondary market, of course, but man, Blanton's Gold, that's a fantastic pour, man. Enjoy that. Enjoy that. If you crack it open tonight, you got to let us know how it is. Andrew Page is getting ready. Starting it off with some Balcones Texas single malt. I haven't had that one yet, but I've heard good things. Yeah, good win indeed. Everybody wants to know what you think about that. Yeah, man, for sure, for sure. If you crack that tonight, man, you're gonna have to give us your first impressions. I've heard a lot of good stuff about that. Oh yeah, nice. I mean, isn't that ironic, right? You got to send it to somebody in the States. You guys get really good access to the Blantons in Canada. That's awesome. Emily Chambers, what's up? U.S. Blantons is just okay. Right. I mean, it doesn't have any of those great ones. I had the opportunity to sample the Blanton straight from the barrel, which I know is available in the UK, but I'm not sure anywhere else, probably in other countries. But man, that is a great bourbon. I actually went to Buffalo Trace as part of my, I did a little bourbon trail last year with my stepdad for his 70th birthday. And, on the off chance, hoping they had a special Blanton's in the gift shop or anything like that at Buffalo Trace. Nope, they did not. And I didn't find any anywhere around Kentucky for that matter. So, yeah, man, I'm not sure why that is. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think they're only international market, which is strange. That stuff would go gangbusters here in the States. You see it, people trying to sell them on secondary market, but that's it. Yeah, straight from the barrel is better. The straight from the barrel is unbelievable. Blanton's Gold, reasonably available here. Yeah, the Blanton's Gold. I'm not sure what the difference between the Gold and the other one is, to be honest. Maybe it's just the age, ABV. I'm not even sure. Obviously, since it's not something I get around here, I'm pretty ignorant on the Blantons. I'm not as huge of a bourbon head, so. But I will be tonight. Mark's got some 101. Yeah. Wild Turkey 101 is one of my favorites. Great for mixing, great for sipping. Can't go wrong with that. Can't go wrong with the Wild Turkey 101. Daniel, some Craig Ellicky. Nice. Good stuff. Good stuff. Peter's got the knowledge. The Gold will be released in the U.S. later this year at higher proof. Oh, shit. Okay. I'll have to save my pennies, y'all. Anyways, so as always, we'll hang out. We'll have a couple drams. I'll be heading over to Telex, the Whiskey Tech's channel, as always on Tuesdays, right around 9:10, 9:15, so about an hour from now. Tonight, he is going to be reviewing Ben Riach 21. So this might be the fourth week in a row where he's having a single malt from a distillery that I've never actually tasted before. So if you've ever had Ben Riach or interested in Ben Riach, this will be a good opportunity to hear about one of their more premium releases. 21 years old. I think he got a good deal on it too, so he's pretty giddy about this one, y'all. I'll be excited to hear what he has to say. So we'll be chatting Ben Riach. We'll probably get into some other shenanigans as we always do, but as always, I'll pop the link down in the chat here before we head on over. So it should be fun. Anyways, as I said, I'm polishing off this Wild Turkey. I'm sorry, not Wild Turkey. Bunnahabhain. Man, all right. Bunnahabhain 12. As I alluded to earlier, Friday, all my whiskey reviews come out. And on Friday, you will be seeing my full review of the Bunnahabhain 12. I had a older bottling of it. Not that much older, but an older label. They have since changed this, I think, for like the last 2 years. But I will tell you this. As far as 12-year-old single malts, coming in that $50, $55 range, boy, this one's tough to beat. I honestly don't know. I can count on maybe a couple other 12-year-olds that I think stack up with this Bunnahabhain 12. So that might give you a hint on what my opinion will be in my review on Friday. But really impressed with this. I really like Bunnahabhain in general. So this should be cool. I'm going to have to get myself another one of those. All right. So we still got some chat going on about the Blantons. Man, I got to get some Blantons to do a review. That would be fun. Yeah, that's straight from the barrel is amazing. Oh, you got some 101 too. You and Mark Stengel are all over the Wild Turkey 101. You can't go wrong with that. You can rely on the Wild Turkey 101 all the time, y'all. Okay, so yeah, Gold Edition is a little bit lower. That makes sense. So I'm not sure if he's doing the peated version or not. Let me check real quick. In his email to me earlier, he just said Ben Riach 21. So I'm not sure. I guess we'll find out. You'll find out right when I do, buddy. Mark said that interview you had with the guys from Glen Scotia was enjoyable. Oh yeah, thank you, man. As most of you know, this has been a continuing story for the last almost 2 months now. I do have the Glen Scotia single cask on the bar, so we'll give it another taste. But if any of you haven't seen yet, I did post a full interview that I got to do with the guys at Glen Scotia, which culminated really from y'all. Y'all encouraged me to reach out to them, ask them some questions about this cloudy single malt, single cask single malt that we got, and see what they had to say. So I got to chat with the master distiller Ian McAllister and Gary Mills, their brand manager. We talked for about 45 minutes. So I posted it on the channel over the weekend. If you haven't checked it out and you're interested in Glen Scotia, go check it out. But we'll get into a little recap of that as well. But just to be top lines, I thought it was a cool interview. I tried to ask as many of the questions as y'all submitted as I could, given that I didn't have a ton of time. We did get some clarity on the Glen Scotia, which he definitely caveated it, of course, not being able to try it himself to know for sure, which makes total sense. But he said that the nose, specifically that funky note that I've told you all about, didn't seem quite right to him. But the cloudiness was pretty much in line with what we would expect. He said that, this is doing a hand-filled bottle like that at the distillery, which is what this is specifically designed for. This is the kind of product that you get. It's as authentic as it can be. It's hardly filtered. So he seemed to say that the cloudiness was, not anything weird, nothing to be alarmed about, but the flavor note potentially was. So, it came straight from his mouth. He's given me no reason to believe him or disbelieve him for that matter. And it was cool. We got to chat about that. He told us a little bit about Campbelltown and the region, the profile of Glen Scotia. So, it was a good time. It was a cool interview. Just as a full disclaimer, it came out last week. They had, I had mentioned last week on the show that they had offered to send me stuff. I told them, and made a rule basically that, as my channel begins to grow and more folks get involved in this, and, I want to maintain the integrity of my reviews as much as possible. So I, should the opportunity ever come again where some distillery I have contact with and a question comes up about them sending me anything, I will not accept any whiskey from any distilleries going forward, because to be honest, I think it compromises potentially my integrity as a whiskey reviewer, even though, I've always done this just for fun and whatever. But the person who commented made a really good point about that. And honestly, I had not really thought about it. I never expected that this would happen in the first place. So it was a good opportunity for me to kind of reflect a little bit, think about the platform, think about what I've learned about whiskey, think about how I want to go forward with this. And so I decided that, should this ever come up again in the future, and a distillery will offer me whiskey in any way, I won't take it, because I want to make sure I'm staying as objective, perception and reality with all of y'all. So I just wanted to share that real quick. However, if the opportunity arises where I could do another interview chat about whiskey like I did with the guys from Glen Scotia, believe me, I will take that up and I will post it unedited on my channel just like I did the last one. So just wanted to share that with y'all. Slaunch everybody. We went over 500 subs this weekend, so that was super cool. So a lot going on here in whiskey land on my side these days, and it's been a lot of fun. Wouldn't be here without y'all. This is super, this is a great time. I enjoy doing it every week. Let's keep it rolling. All right. Let me catch up here on the chat. We got a bunch of folks. Got some closure on Mr. Connie. Yeah, well, the most closure I can get, right? I mean, at the end of the day, if I was in Scotland, I'd probably drive down to the distillery and have him taste it. But, this is what it is. So, if anybody here ever visits Campbelltown, goes to Glen Scotia, do go get yourself a hand-filled bottle from the distillery and let me know. if it ends up being as cloudy as this one, because I guess I'd love to get some secondhand opinion on that. Third hand, actually, given we heard straight from the distiller himself, who was a really cool guy. So yeah, one other thing that he did mention, actually, that I think is worth bringing up here, if you didn't catch the whole interview, is he did ask about the seal that was on it, and this was probably more related to the flavor note, but he did mention that for these distillery only bottlings, they just do the tape over because, it's not being shipped off. And he actually alluded to feeling as though they should just probably do a full wrap around these things anyways, just to ensure they don't get compromised and have good quality and all that. So maybe they'll start doing that in the future. Who knows? But, so all in all, it was a cool chat. I learned a little bit about Campbelltown and Glen Scotia, and hope you all did too. So an interesting bookend to this saga. Now all that's left is to drink or not drink the rest of this bottle. And I'll definitely be putting some in some samplers too, so I can send to some random folks once this coronavirus stuff abates here in Philly. So with all that, let's see what else is going on with y'all. What they mentioned about the seal was interesting. Oh yeah, so Andrew, you saw that. You got to see that. That's cool. Right on. Yeah, Mike. Yeah, cheers, man. Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you so much. Congrats on 500. Right on, Richie. Wouldn't be here with you and without you and everybody else, man. This is cool. Maybe I'll hit 1,000 and it'll. It took me almost 2 years to get to 500, so maybe in another 2 years we'll get 1,000. We'll see. Andrew Page has got an indie bottling, a Kalila 11. Oh yeah, that's the Berry Brothers and Rudd cast strength. That's awesome stuff, man. Awesome stuff. Emily Chambers, any recommendations for a starter Irish? Yes, definitely. Redbreast 12, I think, will give you the best, I think, full range experience. With Irish whiskey, or like good Irish whiskey especially, it's pot still, so they use malted and unmalted barley in it. I think you can get the Redbreast 12 right around that $45 to $50 range. Green Spot is another one that I would recommend. If you're looking for something a little bit lower in price, consider something like, honestly, just like the straight up regular Jameson or Powers. They're mostly pretty sweet and not super complex, but very palatable. You get a sense of the style, at least, of Irish whiskey. So, really depending on how much you want to spend. If you're, like you said, you want to get something that's going to be a good starter, something that's going to have some uniqueness to it. Look at Redbreast 12. Pretty easy to find. Look at Green Spot. Maybe some folks in the chat have some other recommendations for starter Irish, but those are the two that come to mind for me. You can even look at maybe some of the Napoe Castle stuff, which is sourced but really good. They do some different finishes on their stuff. Those you can find relatively inexpensively as well. Maybe a little bit harder to find though. So those would be the two that come to mind for me. Yeah, let us know if you ever if you pick up any of those or how you like them. Yeah, Peter White. Yeah, definitely. Exactly. Haven't tried Irish yet. I'm new. Yeah. So Irish whiskey is interesting, right? Not to go off on a tangent, but from what I've learned about it is they use, it's called pot still whiskey. And the reason they have to call it that is really because it's a distinct style. So way back in the day, the British, when they controlled Ireland, put a tax on malted barley. I think it was to pay for their war effort with France, probably. I don't know how many of those they had, but that's what I've heard was the reason. And so the Irish is a way of kind of saying, screw you to the British government, began using partially unmalted barley in their mash bills. And what they found is it kind of gives it a distinct flavor. You get a really nice kind of bready cereal note. Especially notice that on the Redbreast 12 and the Green Spot, you pick up that characteristic unmalted barley note for sure, which is why I think those are two of the better ones to start with if you can afford it. And so they, and that was kind of how, in part, Irish whiskey was born, is because they also do like a triple distillation process, which is almost secondary to me, but The story about the malted and unmalted barley thing and how that came around is really a cool story. There's a lot of cool history to it. I recommend reading up on it a little bit. But long story short, those two are fantastic starters. Green Spot is one of my favorite go back to whiskeys, period. It's just really, really, really good. The Redbreast 12 is a little heavier. I think it's ex-bourbon, ex-sherry. The Green Spot, I think, is a little bit of a lighter whiskey, but both are really, really good. So check those out if you ever want to spend $45-$50 on a good Irish. You won't be disappointed. Mint julep and the famous bartender. Oh, yeah. That's awesome. Just got a Tobermory 12 in the mail. Ooh, I have never had a Tobermory. I have had Lechag, which is from Tobermory, but never had anything straight up Tobermory. You have to let us know how that is. But yeah, folks, got some reactions on Tobermory 12. Pop them in the chat. Got some recommendations for good starter Irish. Pop those in the chat. Let's do it. Y'all got some good ones in here already, so. Greg. Yeah, I can't even imagine, man. That's a heavy bourbon to be putting in a drink like that. Wow. He says proper 12. No. Proper 12, is that the MMA guys Irish whiskey? It's like a vanity celebrity Irish. I haven't never had it, but I haven't heard great things about it. That's what is that guy's name? Shit. Man, I'm sounding like I don't know anything about the world. He fought Floyd Mayweather. Oh, Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor. Yeah, it's like his Irish whiskey or something. Yeah, I don't know what to say much about that. What's up, Dram dudes in the house? Richie says also another recommended starter Irish. Dram dude, we were just getting into talking about some starter Irishes for Emily Chambers. Redbreast 12. We were talking about Green Spot. Tullamore DEW Do 14 from Richie. I haven't had that one. 12 cast strength Powers, John. Like you do, the 12 cast strength is one of my favorite whiskeys of all time. But I didn't mention that one only because it's like upwards of $80-$90 here in the United States. But that stuff is amazing. Yellow Spot is really, really good too. That's the one with the Malaga cask. Speaking of Red Spot, where is it? I just got a bottle of Red Spot 15, or the Red Spot, which I have never had before. Let me see if I can find that real quick. I might have already put it down in the bunker. I got to open that up relatively soon, though. That one's not going to be able to stay down there for long. That stuff is going to be good, though. For sure. And I'm way behind on the chat, I think. I'm going to have to look at it on YouTube because I can't follow it on this. The way the chat thing goes on StreamYard is on like a delay. Anyways, yeah. Yeah, Red Spot is a 15-year-old. They just put it on this. I guess that used to be a whiskey that Mitchell & Sons released all the time. They just brought it back on the market. It's a 15-year-old, and then I think it's finished in Marsala cask, or it's 5-year Marsala cask, 5-year ex-bourbon, and then 5-year sherry, I want to say. Really looking forward to that. It's been way too pricey. It's like a $150 bottle, but I got lucky and found it somewhat cheap. Recommend though, Green Spot, if you really want, after you've had the Green Spot, if you love that, spend a little bit more. The Yellow Spot, probably my favorite. So yeah, a bunch of good ones coming in. Greg's got a whole list for you. He's talking about the Jameson Caskmates, Teeling. Yeah, Teeling is another one, but Bushmill 16. Yeah, man. Those are all good ideas. Green Spot. Can't go wrong with Green Spot. Good stuff. It sure does. It sure does. Whiskey Wednesday has a funny review of Proper 12 worth the watch. Oh, I'll have to check. I have to check that out. Is he still making videos? I actually haven't seen any of his stuff in a while. Hey, Gary K's in the house. What's up, Gary? Welcome to the live stream. He recommends Glendalough 13 Mizunara. Man, Emily, you're going to have a nice list. That sounds amazing. I have never had a Glendalough. Shows you how much Irish I still need to taste. But, man, yeah. Like I said, I think some of these, look at, Powers Gold. This is a great point, Mike. Powers Gold is a good starter. Look at some of those, Emily. Red Breast 12, Green Spot, Powers Gold, even like regular Jameson and Tully, the 14 if you want to spend a little bit less. But there's so much good Irish whiskey. I think sometimes it gets a little bit slighted when you compared to Scotch, but there's a lot. There goes the final dram of my Buna 12. Check out Friday. I'll have the full review of that. All right, y'all. So next up, I'm going to tell you a little bit about this one that I just got. I'll be curious in the chat what y'all think about Colonel E.H. Taylor whiskey in general. And what I got here is a single barrel. So as I get this in the glass, I'll tell you a little bit about this, at least from what I know. First of all, their presentation is awesome. Really tall, dominating looking bottles. So the E.H. Taylor line, this is out of Buffalo Trace. It has a very it's not easy to get your hands on. And why that is, I think, is mostly just due to the bourbon craze that we're all living through right now. But this one in particular, well, let me back up. So they have a couple that are somewhat readily available. They have a small batch, which is, whatever you want to say about small batch. It is bottled in bond, though. So 50% ABV, that's a good sign. At least 3 years old, that's a good sign. That one's in that kind of 50-55 range. This is considered one of the more premium releases out of Buffalo Trace. I think it's what they use, what's called their highly loaded mash bill 1. I don't know what the specifics are on that, but that comes out. That's brought up quite a bit. They also have this single barrel, which probably falls between MSRP 70, but I'll get into why it's probably more later. They also have a barrel proof. And then they have a whole bunch of these specialty bottles that are impossible to find. They have a 4-grain, which I see on secondary markets upward of $500. They have this thing called their Tornado track. I don't remember what it is. Tornado something. It was from a warehouse that was destroyed in the tornado. And so they fill up their bottles with the whiskey that they were able to salvage from that. There's a couple other ones that are just super difficult to find. And then they have a straight rye, which you can somewhat find, which is, again, in that $75, $80 range. So this is not the easiest stuff to get. And so if you're really looking for a bottle of E.H. Taylor, you need to go secondary market, whether it's certain social media websites that have certain pages that may or may not have talked about this. You can find it on auction websites. Every once in a while, you'll find one on a shelf. And I think the reason for that is just that, again, the bourbon craze is so heavy. People really love the profile of this stuff. And so I have had the small batch before. I've had a sip of the barrel proof, which is fantastic. But I'm telling you, even on secondary market, that's a $300 bottle these days, which is absolutely crazy to pay for a bourbon, in my opinion. However, single barrel, this one's coming in at 50% ABV. It is bottled in bond. And I think everything they do is bottled in bond, which I appreciate. Not only does it have the historic nature of government warehouses, so it's quality. It's all distilled at the same place in one season. It's 50% ABV minimum. Well, I think it has to be. It's 50% exactly. This one here is specifically 50%. So there's a long storyline about Colonel E.H. Taylor, et cetera, which I'm not going to go into too much now. I'll talk about more of this on the review, but I'll be curious if any of y'all have had any of the E.H. Taylor stuff before. And I'm excited to get this in the glass right now and see what's up. I had one sip of it, as you can see, so I'm just past the neck pour. Excited to get a little bit more of this going tonight. I've been feeling a bourbon lately, y'all. I don't know if you ever go through those phases where you're just kind of, you have something leathery, tobacco, Sweet. You know, you go through these phases where you're just kind of into a certain style of spirit for a while. I'm starting the last couple of weeks. I got it at Total Wine, by the way, just for full disclosure. Any y'all in the South Jersey area, they have this at Total Wine. I don't know how much longer it'll be there, but yeah, you just get in one of these moods where you're feeling something you haven't had in a while. And I was just feeling like I needed to get myself a nice bourbon. And so rolling the dice on this one. We'll see what's up. Also interesting that they come in tubes like a scotch. This is probably one of the only bourbons I've ever seen that comes in a tube like this. On the bottom, it says, "Let the label tell the truth." It says across the top, Premier Kentucky whiskey. Kind of like an old throwback style on it. There's some real interesting stuff written on here, y'all. They apparently love to hear from their customers too. So they have a phone number on it even. So they got this little thing here, which is interesting. Kind of tells a whole bunch about it. Pure limestone water, splendid cooperage, comprehensive sanitation, skilled manufacturer, selected grain, ideal glassing, et cetera, et cetera. Colonel E.H. Taylor, just like one of these, like everybody. Yeah, he was like everybody they put a name on these, Blantons, all this. He was just another big bourbon guy in Kentucky back in the day. But anyways, enough about all that. We'll let this rest for a little bit. I'll catch up on the chat. See if any of y'all got anything to say about E.H. Taylor. And spicy nose. Ben Demon Hunter's in the house. What's up, Ben? How you doing, man? Happy Tuesday. Oh, you also talking Irish. Okay. E.H. Taylor is brutally expensive in the UK. Yeah, it's not that much cheap here unless you get lucky and find it sitting on a shelf somewhere, man. Yeah, so I'm not sure it's BTAC actually. So the antique collection stuff, I'm not sure if they have an E.H. Taylor antique collection. I think this one might be like a step below the antique collection. I might be wrong though. I'm not sure if they do I've always thought of the BTAC releases as like the Stag, the Sazerac, the Handy, the Eagle Rare one that they release like every fall, in the fall every year, which are like stupidly priced and impossible to find. I think the E.H. Taylor's a little bit below that I see it in shelves, but maybe I'm wrong, Emily. You can correct me on that. Man, a lot of talk about this Glendalough 13 Mizunara, man. I got to get my hands on this. This stuff sounds good. What does a bottle of that cost? You told him to look it up. I ain't going to be able to spell Glendalough, though, y'all. Oh, here it is. Came up right away. Can you get this in the States? Oh, yeah, $75, $80. Okay. Might have to look into that. That sounds really good. Yeah, all right. Cool. All right, let me see what else is going on. Yeah, Elliot Ness Untouchables, totally. Yeah, man. The story behind autocorrect does suck. I'll raise a glass to that, man. Cheers. Yeah, that's good. I'll share a few tasting notes in a second, but man, that is good. Read what this man says. That is real talk. They do make quality whiskey. For example, I mean, just think of the things that come out of Buffalo Trace. E.H. Taylor, Blantons. I mean, come on. Like those two alone. The regular Buffalo Trace stuff is good. I'm sure there are a couple others I'm not thinking of right now, but like they make really good stuff. And I'll tell you, the distillery tour I did there was awesome. I had a really good time. They have a great history. Totally worth it. Stag Jr. is one of the ones that comes out there. But, you know, look, the bourbon craze over the last what now, 5-6 years. I mean, some of these things are so overpriced. And honestly, I just don't think, from a personal perspective, you're hard pressed to get me to think about paying over $100 for any bourbon. And this is why. For me personally, heavily aged bourbons, we're thinking like Elijah Craig 23, something like that. The Orphan Barrel stuff. There's a bunch of others. It's just way too oaky because the climate is different in Kentucky. So an 18-year-old Scotch doesn't impart as much of that barrel as an 18-year-old bourbon because it's way warmer in Kentucky. And like I've had some of these premium bourbons that have age statements on them. They're just too old. They're too oaky. You got to water them down, or like they have to water them down just to even get it. I think the sweet spot with bourbon is that kind of 12-year range, maybe less even. 15 at the max. It's just too oaky. And I think it takes away a lot of the flavor. The second part is like there's so much good bourbon. There's so many bourbons that I absolutely love, but Scotch is a little bit more complex and has a little bit more range of flavors for me. So when I'm thinking about spending my money, like I'll go over 100 on a Scotch, but rarely on a bourbon. I can't really even think of any bourbons I've spent over 100 on. I think one of the most expensive bourbon I ever bought was a Jefferson's Ocean cast strength, which was like $95 or something. There may be another one or two in there. I think I got one of the Orphan Barrel 24 years at once, but that's just me. But I don't turn my nose up at bourbon at all. I freaking love it. And what it does well, especially this one. I'm telling you, this E.H. Taylor, leathery, tobacco. There's a lot of complexity in this. There's a leather tobacco note that's kind of just drying out what is otherwise a creamy vanilla caramel, typical bourbon note stuff. There's some spice in the background. This really smells like you walked into like a leather shop. Finish is a little bit shorter than I would have expected, but nothing to sneeze at. And it's so deceptively delicate on the arrival. So here's what I would tell you. I mean, I'm going to do a full review of this probably next week. But here's what I'd tell you about this. Like, this is one of those whiskeys that if you see it on a shelf, you're probably just going to be compelled to buy it because you never see it on a shelf. I found that I literally walked into a Total Wine this weekend and this was sitting there and I was like, come on, I got to get this. But do I think this is like light years ahead of what some of my favorite single barrel bourbons? Four Roses is the one that comes to mind. I don't think it's light years ahead. I think this is on par with Old Forester Prohibition Edition. Maybe it's a little bit more complex, but the Old Forester Prohibition Edition at MSRP is $25 less. So this is a good kind of vanity whiskey. Enjoy it. If you can find this at a decent price, I wouldn't go like crazy on secondary market trying to outbid for like $150 or something like this because this is not worth it. But this is real good. Real good. I'm going to get into more of the details on it eventually, and then I'll share a full review of it. We'll see what's up. Let me catch up, y'all. Yeah, I'm not complaining. This is really, really good. This is a really, really good bourbon. Whiskey Advent Calendar. Oh, he's talking about Ben Demon Hunter. The double barrel. Oh, you guys know about the Glendalough. Man, I got to get in on this Glendalough train, man. I've missed out. Oh, God. Yeah. I didn't even get into Weller. The Weller stuff. I don't get it. I don't get the Weller stuff. It's a good bourbon. It's fine. It's a wheated bourbon, right? No rye, so it's super creamy, no spice, which to me reduces its complexity. But this is like right when the bourbon thing came off. So the thing with Weller is, if y'all don't know, back 10 years ago, like Weller was a bottom shelf whiskey. You pick it up for $20 or less, the 12-year-old. Now it's like $150 for a 12-year-old on secondary market, and you'll never find it in a store. It's partially because it's allocated, but now they're doing like a full full proof release. They're doing a single barrel. The Weller craze is over the top, in my opinion, for what you're getting, which honestly it's like a Maker's Mark style, right? Wheat, it's creamier, it's sweeter, no spice, quote unquote smooth. I have seen people pay $75 online for a bottle of Weller Special Reserve, which I'll be honest with you, is no better than the Larceny you can get down at your store, which is also weeded for $20. I'm just gonna say it. I've never quite figured it out. I don't dislike the stuff, but the chasing on it is just over the top. Yeah, I hear you on that, Peter, for sure. Mark says Old Granddad Bottle and Bond, awesome bourbon. That's a steal. I put that up there with Evan Williams Bottle and Bond and Evan Williams Single Barrel as some of the best sub $25 whiskeys you can get. Dada style, yeah. Totally. Yeah. Friend gave me some Irish samples. Oh, okay, cool. I've been seeing that E.H. Taylor a lot lately. It's been quite a while since oh, you've been seeing it. Wow, that's amazing. Man, you're lucky to see that. The new E.H. Taylor Yeah, I saw that. Ooh, PVW 23 price. I can only imagine that's high. I don't know what the reference is, but I can only imagine. My U.S. collection is limited, says Greg. I wish I could go there, especially to pick up some Michter's, Balcones, and Iron Root and Westland. Yeah. I'll tell you, like, even over here, man, I don't see the Westland stuff anywhere here on the East Coast. I'm in Philadelphia, and I don't think I've ever seen it here or in South Jersey. Michter's is another one. It's very similar to this, to the E.H. Taylor, where like the E.H. Taylor small batch, you can get regular Michter's. They have like a rye, they have a bourbon that you can get relatively easily, but then they have like these 10-year-old bourbons and ryes, these barrel proofs, which are like, again, all secondary market. I actually went to the Michter's tasting room when I was in Louisville for the bourbon trail and like got to taste a couple of the really good Michter's, but I couldn't find bottles of it anywhere, so it's hard to get. Yeah, man. Y'all are. It's a consensus. It looks like y'all are all over this Mizunara 13 Glenlock. All right, I'll get it. It's too bad I cannot monetize it. I'd ask you all to chip in so I can get a bottle. I'm not shameless, y'all. No, I'll look for it for real. I mean, I like the age statement. I'm all about the Mizunara. I can only imagine how that works with an Irish. I'm all about it. I'll check it out. Hopefully I can get it in the next month or so. Yeah, the William LaRue Weller is a BTAC, right? And the Weller Antique is not, but yeah, that's for sure. Man, y'all got me hyping on this. I gotta get this Glendalough Mizunara. Do you know anybody who's done a review of it? I try not to watch reviews of stuff that I buy first, but I mean, all right. You know what? I'm gonna look for that, y'all. I'll look for that. You got it on my radar. I could be wrong about the E.H. Taylor, though. I read about it being BTAC, but I don't know. Oh, okay, yeah. I'm not quite sure. If it isn't, it's like it's the closest thing to it, I think, that comes out of Buffalo Trace. That's very, very possible. So I'm not entirely sure. But hey, yeah, man, I'd be also interested if any of y'all have had any other good bourbons or Irish, for that matter, over the past couple weeks. Any of you guys picked up anything you'd recommend? I've been feeling I got an itch for bourbon lately, man. I got this E.H. Taylor. A few weeks before that, I got Old Ezra 7-year-old barrel proof. I see I have some Wild Turkey there, which I don't even think I'm going to get to tonight. Feeling some bourbon. Let me know if you guys have picked up anything interesting. I'm still hunting for that new Elijah Craig barrel proof. I haven't found it yet. Yeah, this is going to be a bourbon night, y'all. I think I'm going to stick with the bourbon. Yeah, totally. Do you know that in July 2019, my first whiskey? Oh man, so you're about to hit your 12 months since getting into whiskey. Buffalo Trace. Let's all raise a glass to our comrade Ben Demon Hunter. Sláinte, buddy. That's a good bourbon to start with. I got a good Buffalo Trace story I could tell you. This was right actually when I was getting into bourbon. So this was probably about 7 years ago. And I went into this local shop. This is when I lived in Milwaukee, right? I go into this local shop and I'm looking for Buffalo Trace because, of course, like that's what I had heard of. I heard this is like a good sipping bourbon. I'm like, oh, I got to try this. I'd had Maker's Mark. I'm like, I got to try this Buffalo Trace. And they didn't have any. They were all out. And this is like a big store. They have a ton of stuff. It's a locally owned place called Warehouse Liquors. So the guy, this is when I was still a tequila drinker too. So I was just getting into bourbon. So the guy there is like, oh man, don't bother. He's like, yeah, I'm sorry, we don't have any of the Buffalo Trace left. He goes, but I do have a recommendation of an alternative. And I said, well, what's that? And he pulled down a bottle of Elijah Craig 12-year. This is when the 12-year was the standard before they went to small batch. And I was like, oh, cool. But I didn't know anything. So I'm like, he's probably just trying to sell me this Elijah Craig. I don't know nothing about this, right? So I kind of was like, all right, whatever. I went over the tequila aisle and I was looking at a couple tequilas. Kind of bummed I wasn't getting a bourbon, but I didn't know anything, right? I didn't look anything up online. I was getting what people told me, and I was heading towards the checkout with this bottle of tequila, and the guy who worked there came around and he tapped me on the shoulder. He says, hey man, I'm gonna get this bottle for you. And I looked down and it was this Elijah Craig 12-year. And if any of y'all know anything about that now, if you have a bottle of Elijah Craig 12-year sitting around, that's worth a pretty penny because you can't get the 12-year anymore. Now it's the small batch, which is like a 7 to 11-year mix, right? So the guy who worked at the liquor store bought me a bottle of Elijah Craig 12. And I went home and I decided to open that instead of the tequila I had bought. And I absolutely loved it. I was like, wow, this is really, really good. I mean, I couldn't understand the complexity of it. I drank it on ice because, I wasn't drinking neat whiskey back then. And it was one of those moments that kind of pushed me down the bourbon, the bourbon journey. And so anecdotally, I do have another bottle of that Elijah Craig 12 because I bought another one, which I haven't opened for all these years because I was holding on to it for sentimental value. Now all of a sudden it's probably, worth $100 maybe, but I may open it one of these days. But yeah, so that's how Buffalo Trace got me started on bourbon. I'm glad you enjoyed your pour, buddy. It's too funny. Let me try and catch up here. I think I'm way behind. That's okay though. We still got 14 folks on, so I can't be as quick on this as I want to be, unfortunately. Mizunara. All right. Gotcha. Some chat about that. Cool. Oh yeah, the Smooth Ambler. Wow. Gary, I mean, God, you try to find a bottle of Elijah Craig 18 now, it's like $300. That's an amazing deal. I wish we could go back in time and I would just buy up all the Weller and I would just live off selling Weller on secondary market. I'm just kidding. That's what everybody else is doing. But seriously though, man, some of the prices on these are just absolutely crazy compared to what they used to be. Peter White's got a couple 12 stashed. I don't really see any value as ECBP is 12. Yeah, that's totally true. Totally true. It's honestly like, I don't want to drink it because I just want to, it's one of those sentimental value type things, it's like a memento. I totally agree with you though. And yeah, ECBP, my favorite bourbon, period. 12-year, non-chill, 3 batches a year. Can't go wrong with it. I'm totally with you on that. I love that stuff. Maybe 10-year. Okay. I'm not sure if I followed. Oh, 10 years ago. Yeah. Got you. Cool. Y'all are talking about Whiskey Fun. That's a great website. right, y'all. Anyways, I'm going to finish up this E.H. Taylor real quick. This is good. Nice spice kick at the end. All the right bourbon notes. Oh, delicious. Finish is actually feeling like it's a little longer now, but this was at Total Wine. This was $80. Is this an $80 whiskey? I don't know. Four Roses, which has more rye in it than this. This is not very high rye, I don't think. The Four Roses that you can get, it's like $40, $45, also 50%. Yeah, I don't know. Once in a lifetime. I don't think that this thing is leaps and bounds better than some of the single barrel. And like I said, the Old Forester Prohibition 1920 is another one that comes to mind that's like 59%. That I think kind of matches up profile-wise with this. This is a good whiskey. I wouldn't go nuts though trying to find it on secondary market, but I'll do a full review of this eventually. All right, y'all. I'm gonna get Mr. Cloudy in the glass here in a second, but clean the palate. We'll see what's happened with this bad boy. So as I was saying earlier, check out. I had the whole interview with them. Basically, I think we're at the end of the line with this. This is a whiskey that's just going to be what it is, hanging out. We've learned about as much as we possibly can about it. And now it's just a matter of whether or not it's going to get better to drink. So let's see. It's been a week since I've had it. I did not drink any on the interview with them, unfortunately, because it was way too early in the morning here for me. I did not have the opportunity to have a dram with them, which sucked, but yeah, nothing really changing yet. We'll see though. Yeah, I wish. The problem with that, my friend, is that bottle is crazy expensive. That thing is, you can't find it, first of all. If you can, it's over $200. Third, if you're going to get a secondary market, it's like $300. I've had a sip of it. It's really, really good bourbon, no doubt. But I don't think I'll be owning a bottle anytime soon, unless one of you kind people wants to send me one. In which case, I'll give it a fair, objective review. Mm-hmm. Again, y'all, with this Glen Scotia. The good whiskey's there. The overcoat of that funky note still omnipresent. I just don't think it's going away at this point. Yeah, this is not the. I'm just gonna have to have other people check this out. There's no other two ways about it. But beneath that overcoat of whatever that note is, there is some tasty whiskey in this for sure. Anyways, any of y'all go to Glen Scotia, let me know. I'll definitely want to know if you find anything out about this. As for tequilas, yeah, I haven't bought any in a really long time. One of the ones that I had, it was from a tequila maker distillery, Dos Lunas. It was a Reposado. It was one of my favorite. It was very butterscotch. I'm not even sure they make it anymore. It got harder and harder to find. I have a few. I'd have to look back and see which ones I still have. But yeah, I haven't bought much recently, to be totally honest with you. That's kind of where I started, though. I started with tequila, then I kind of got into bourbon and then scotch. Well, gin was in there too, but gin's always been part of it. I do love me some gin. I was really into making martinis for a while, so periodically, maybe I'll throw a gin review up one of these days. Ooh, Crown Royal Cask 16. Santa Cruzin, what's up, buddy? Solancha, my friend. Welcome to the chat. I'm assuming you are off work, maybe? If so, what you sipping, buddy? Hope you got something good to sip on tonight. We have been talking bourbon, talked a little bit of Glen Scotia. We talked some Buna 12. And we are getting close to 9, which means about 15, 20 minutes. We'll be heading on over to continue the whiskey chat with my good friend Telex. I will drop the link when he is ready for us to join him. He's doing a Ben Riach 21 tonight, another distillery that I've not had. So I'm going to be learning about Ben Riach. I hope you guys can join us, and you'll learn a little bit about Ben Riach as well if you haven't, or you'll just learn about one of their premium releases, a 21-year-old Ben Riach. I mean, come on, right? The palate is the best part of this Glen Scotia. The nose initially throws you off because of that, again, that note that I've mentioned. The palate is delicious. Then the note comes back on the finish. It just is what it is, y'all. I'm almost resigned to it. We'll keep going, though. We'll open it every week. I'll have a sip every week. I'll let you know if this ever changes. I think this is week 7, but yeah, you know, can't win them all, I guess. I don't think I've ever heard that this cloudiness is natural. I've never heard of hand-fill cask being super cloudy. Yeah, you know, look, I'm with you on that. I was skeptical. I actually think I even followed up, and I mentioned in the interview that I did with him, I was like, you know, I've had a, we all know what non-chill filtered whiskey is, you know, with the Scotch mist and everything. When you put a little bit of water in it, it breaks up the alcohol compounds from everything else and, you know, brings up those oils. But he was saying like this is within the Campbelltown kind of style, man, heavily oily. And that's an understatement with this. I don't know where else to go for answers on this one, my friend. Funk and the fuzz. Emily Chambers, appreciate you. You're too good. That's right. That's exactly right. Some folks saying hi to each other. Yeah, I agree. They did seem like really cool guys. I mean, it was cool they gave their time. I wish, like I said, I wish I could have had an actual pour this with them and poured it into the glass and told them in real time what I was tasting. But, you know, he kind of said, you know, without tasting it himself, unfortunately, you know, he can't really tell. But he did think that there might be something off with it. So he at least, you know, he said maybe that was the case. But they were both cool guys, you know. We learned a little bit about Campbelltown, which is an area that I've been more and more interested in. I think I got to ask him one of the questions you submitted too, Andrew, if I'm not mistaken. I hope you enjoyed that, man. Mike's heading out. Take it easy, Mike. Ben Riach. Well, I have 2 options after this Buna 12. Oh, nice. Well, hey, I don't know if you were here early, Ben. I just finished the Buna 12. You may appreciate this. So my review on Friday will be the Buna 12. I just finished this bottle tonight. I know you've been sipping on that for a while, so I'll have my whole like full review of that coming up. Even though I'm a major China DJ, massive peat head. You get a lot of peat off of it, man. Yeah, I know what you mean though. Like as an Islay whiskey, it's a little deceptive when it comes to the peat. I absolutely love the stuff. As I was saying at the beginning of the show, I think the Buna 12 is probably one of my. Whoop, got a text. Buna 12 is probably one of my more favorite 12-year single malts that I've ever had. I'd be curious, you know, if Dram Dude is still here. Dram Dude and I had a good post on Instagram this week about this, and I think I might have agreed with him. So he was talking about Glendronach 12, which I think is probably one of the other good 12s. I also would throw Highland Park 12 in there, and also Glenallachie 12. But if you're looking for those 12-year-olds that, I mean, even maybe Old Pulteney. We're not including the Springbank cast strength, but just think of those 12-year-olds that are really, really high quality, good bang for your buck. Those are the ones that come up to me. Speaking, Daniel's going to hit up the Spios. Oh, nice. You got a bottle. That's right. You mentioned that last week. That's so cool. Spios. Killer. Love that bottle. Wish I had more. That's a really tasty stuff, man. I was a big fan of the Glenmorangie Spios. I admittedly, as I've said, I love Glenmorangie for the most part. I think that all of their finished stuff is really good. It's not a heavy whiskey, so it's something you can kind of open things up with, start your night off with. I love pretty much everything that I've had from them, which has been somewhat considerable. That Spios, however, that was one of my favorites. For those of you all don't know, the Spios is it's aged in American rye. So it's like a Scotch aged in rye, which is not something you see that much. I know Glenallechy's got a 9-year-old as part of their wood series that's aged in rye. I haven't had that one yet. I think there's like 1 or 2 other ones out there that I can think of, but those are not things you see a lot. So definitely worth trying out if you're interested, if you're a rye fan and want to see what a single malt barley and rye does when it's married together. Check it out. Jackie Gleason doing a show in the 60s from Miami. He was the only person to drink whiskey in a teacup. Oh man, when you say Jackie Gleason, the first thing that comes to mind for me is The Hustler. You know, see that movie with the Paul Newman? It was Jackie Gleason, Paul Newman from the 50s. Man, that's a great film. 13 Madeira cask, intensely peated, half a bottle. Oh, I haven't had that. Then you got to try the Benromic. Oh yeah, Benromic. I have 2 bottles of Benromic. I have an organic and a 15. I think I'm going to open one of those relatively soon too. So I'll be interested to share that with y'all. I haven't had a lot of Glenmorangies, or I'm sorry, a lot of Benromics, but cool. Honeymooners, please. All right, Peter. Fair enough. Fair enough. That's a good point. Oh man, that's good. What are your thoughts on the Alta? I have not had the Alta. So that was the private edition that came out last year, right? Yeah, I didn't get it. I actually somehow missed that one, man. I'm not sure why. I'm trying to think of the Glenmos that I got. Yeah, that one just, for whatever reason, I couldn't find it. I was able to find the Spios a lot more easily, despite it being, I think, a year older in its release than the Alta. But is that one you vouch for it? I'd love to hear a little bit more about it, because to be honest, I don't know enough about the style of that one. But I did have a new Glenmo this year, which is that 15 Cadboll Estate barley, where they're kind of trying to do the local barley thing. It was okay. I'm not sure I would say that you should run out and buy it, but I think their wine finished stuff, their sherry finished stuff is just much more interesting than their bourbon stuff. Specifically, the La Santa is really good. The what's the other one? Quinta Rubin. The Quinta Rubin 12, the Quinta Rubin now it's 14. Both of those are really tasty. Oh man, here comes the Jackie Gleason love. Awesome. You guys are the best, man. Good. So I should mention again, Telex the Whiskey Tech and I will be heading live for another Tuesday Booze Day whiskey chat. I think this is almost 2 months now since we've been doing this. I think we're going to keep going. What do you think, y'all? I mean, we've been doing this mostly to, it's fun. It's a good way to connect with friends, and it seems like a lot of y'all enjoy it. So I think we're going to continue doing it. Tonight he's doing Benriach. One of the Bens. He's doing Benriach, a 12-year-old Benriach tonight. That's a distillery I've never had anything from before. So as has been the case for the last couple of weeks, I'm going to learn a little bit from him about a new whiskey. I might have to find an older single malt I don't have a ton of older ones, but one just to try to sip something along with them. Otherwise, I'm gonna be sipping bourbon the whole night, y'all. I'm telling you. I got a Wild Turkey rare breed still sitting over here, so I might have to jump in with that. Oh, okay, the Alta. Ooh, yeah, that does sound good. Might have to check that out. Richie's asking, yeah. Richie, you said it. I never bought a bottle of it strictly for the fact that it was almost $200. And while I liked it, I drank a glass of it at a bar in DC, a really great whiskey bar. If any of you guys are ever in Washington, DC, check out the Jack Rose Whiskey Saloon, probably one of the best, if not the best whiskey bar in the United States. Their selection of rare bottles will blow your mind, but go in there with a couple $100 because you're going to want to try a lot of things. I did try the Signet there. I agree. I've never had anything as like dessert, like a chocolate. It was like a chocolate lava cake dessert, right? With some mocha, with some like espresso. That is a really good whiskey. But I just, when I thought about it, I'm like, I don't know if I want a whole bottle of this for $200. It was like a nice treat. It was really impressive what they had done with it. But for that amount of money, I just couldn't pull the trigger. I mean, I think about other things I could get potentially with close to $200 for a whiskey. The Signet just wasn't one of those that I thought I would pull the trigger on. But Tuesday night V bars, hell yeah, Lost Cause. Between you and Telex works great. Keep it. Oh yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, we've been having a lot of fun with this. It's a weird thing because of COVID, right? The idea really is that where we're going to take this whiskey show eventually is that after the coronavirus stuff abates, which I think is still hitting his area a bit harder than it is here in Philly. What we're going to do is try to align the whiskeys we taste. So we'll try the same thing each night, kind of sip it in real time, share our thoughts, stuff like that, which I think will be interesting and compelling. And I hope you guys will enjoy something like that. But, we've been having fun in the interim, and, you guys are the ones that make it. This wouldn't be nearly as fun if it was just me and him staring at each other on the computer screen. So, much love to y'all. That Glen Scotia, I tell you. Yeah, for sure, buddy. Appreciate that, man. Oh, yeah. That sounds about right, Peter. Have you been there? Have you been to Jack Rose? Oh, my God. If you guys ever, so I'm part of the Philadelphia Whiskey Society, and just before coronavirus, we had planned a day trip down to DC. I mean, I'm in Philly, so that's 2.5, 3 hour drive to DC. We were going to rent a bus. All of us go down to Jack Rose. We had a private tasting room, and it was going to be amazing. And, then we got screwed over. Pandemics will do that. They apparently don't care about our, the joy that we'll find in whiskey. So, what can you do? Eventually, though, I'd love to get back there. I lived in DC for 3 years. If you go back to my early reviews on the channel when I was Rabbit and Red whiskey reviews, those were, any of them with the orange background were all from my place in DC. I've been here in Philly for just about a year. So I had a couple opportunities to go over there, but yeah, you wouldn't believe it. They have like 15-year-old Willets. They have some Springbanks that would just blow your mind. Stuff you can't find anywhere. It's crazy. I don't know how they get such a great selection. I had the opportunity to have a couple drinks with the, I don't remember. I think I might still have his card in my wallet. This dude who worked there, I don't know. I'm not going to look too hard for this, but yeah, he gave me his card. He's like basically the guy who buys all the whiskey for them. And I've heard stories about what his house looks like, where he's just literally covered, his wall-to-wall covered in amazing whiskey. And the selection there would blow your mind. It's literally floor to ceiling in a huge hall, or long, narrow restaurant of like nothing but whiskey bottles. And they probably have thousands. And they have a patio, all this. I know I sound like I'm working for Jack Rose. I ain't trying to hype them that much, y'all, but I'm just saying if you're ever in DC, do yourself a solid. Go check that place out. Anyways, let me see what else is going on. I still want a Rabbit in Red horror film channel. There's only so much time. Yeah, Andrew Page, I hear you, man. My original thing, and that's why I called it Rabbit in Red, was I was going to do like a horror film and whiskey thing. The Rabbit in Red thing, for those who don't know, is a reference to the movie Halloween. It's called the Rabbit in Red Lounge. It's a bar that's on the back of a plot device that foreshadows some trouble that happens in the movie. And being a huge John Carpenter Halloween fan, I was like, oh yeah, I've been wanting to do horror movie reviews for a long time. And then I got into the whiskey thing, and then I just kept doing whiskey. So, the other thing that I'm into went away. So what I might do, maybe I'll relaunch it at some point, and I'll just do Rabbit in Red horror reviews. I don't know if there's a way to pair whiskey and horror movies together in a way that would be convincing over a channel, so I'm not even going to try. But, so it goes. Let me check in on Telex. As I said, we might be getting close to live whiskey review time, etc., etc. He has finished up his Ben Riach 21 review. I'd be interested to hear what he thought about that. Anyways, y'all, it's been another fun week. I appreciate all your support. As I showed, I went over 500 subs, so that's super cool. And it's been a lot of fun chatting with y'all. I'm going to keep this going. Whiskey Trammer Theater 4,200. All right, Lost Cause. Yeah. You win. That's great. Do a MST3K recording of just my head watching horror movies while sipping different scotches and then making commentary. Although the 42000, we might want to think about something other than whiskey. That's funny. I saw a show where the whiskey was so expensive, the crystal glass it served was $600. Yeah, you ain't gonna find that from me, man. That's crazy. That sounds like some what's that guy, the Dalmore goof that has all his videos all over YouTube, talking about when you get your first sip of the whiskey, swirl it around, throw it on the floor. What? I paid $70 for that bottle. I ain't throwing shit on the floor. This is a proletarian whiskey review channel and will remain that way. That's too funny. $650 glass, man. Crazy. I don't know if my car is worth $650 these days. Maybe. Close. Let me just do another quick check. All right, my boy Telex is on. He's on. Here we go. Check out the chat, y'all. There is the link. Well put, Mark. That's the link. I'm going to head over there in just a few minutes. It's been fun chatting with you all again for another Tuesday whiskey review, whiskey happy hour. Check out my review Friday, Boone at 12. It's been a long time coming. Really excited to share my thoughts about that one with y'all. And thank you all again for helping me reach 500 subs. This is super cool. See where it goes from here. But for now, we're going to continue with Tuesday happy hours, Friday reviews. Appreciate all your guys' support as always. I'll catch you over on Telex's channel. Link is in the chat. Peace to all of you, my friends. See you next week.